We are back. Officially back. So soon. Two addicts and a moron. Not counting we're 50 over 50 now, right, Joe?
What episode? This is
This is 50. This is episode 50.
Oh,
hey, we got that.
Yeah.
We got
Wildwood is sued.
I know, dude. You put on your good shirt.
Yeah, big cock spitting fire, boy.
Yeah, big cock spitting fire with the long sleeve on it. Yeah, baby.
Spitting fire, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Come out.
All right. Well, just like that. What an introduction there. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve is in the house. What is up?
You go by Steve or Stevie?
Steven.
Steven?
Yeah. Stevie's my kid name when I was a boy.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
Steven.
my family used to call me Stevie.
Well, I heard it at the meeting when I met you.
Yeah.
They were calling you Steven. Or
Yeah, Steven.
Was it okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
No, you're good, bro.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I ain't mad at you.
well, welcome aboard.
I'll put you on my 10-step tonight.
Yeah.
Come on. How you spell that name? Make sure I get it right.
Well, over in the middle, Joey the moron.
Over here on the left, Mike Stewboy, recovered addict meth GHB. And then I'm gonna get a little.
And Steven, go ahead and introduce yourself again properly.
I'm Steven Sheehan. I am an alcoholic, and I do other things too.
Okay.
And the reason I say that, I spent years coming in and going out and going in and going out, and I never really could quite fit in of how I couldn't go into an AA meeting and say I was a drug addict, because back when I first started sober 20 years ago, when I first started trying to get sober, there were old timers in there. They're like, we don't talk about that shit in here, and this is not that kind of meeting, and blah, 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 and so one of my sponsors back then had told me, he says, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, And the thing was, I did, drugs were my thing. Alcohol wasn't my thing until, I guess it was back in 07 or 08. I laid my crack pipe down, and I went to the corner store, and I picked up a 6-pack of Tall Boys, man. And I went home that night. In my apartment, I had just a couch and a little bitty old 4-inch screen TV,
Yeah.
And I still had the coffee. I had the coffee table on the couch. I had sold everything else out of my apartment. And anyways, so, I drank a couple of beers, 2-3 beers. I don't remember exactly what it was, And I woke up the next morning, and I still had a couple beers left, And, oh, shit, I still got money in my pocket, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, hell. I still had over half a pack of cigarettes, and I hadn't gone in the middle of the night to the east side, to buy some fucking Bobo, and sell my weed eater that I need for my job tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I could go home and claw the fucking sheets again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to watch my language.
No, you don't. No, you say whatever the
Yeah.
fuck you want, man.
Yeah, so, that's when I was like, you know what? I think I can do this alcohol shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing was, is every time I would go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, I was always thinking to myself, like, these aren't really my people, man. Like, how can you really burn your life to the ground with alcohol, man?
I used to think the same thing.
I was like, I just don't get it. I know what the physical ramifications of getting high and being up and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know anything about heroin. I tried it once or twice. It wasn't my gig, I like to be up. I don't want to miss nothing,
Yeah.
all that, And man, my buddy had took me to the grocery store that one time I had tried to snort a little bit of it, and we go to the grocery store, and I was at the candy deal, and I all like lean and all like that, and I couldn't stop myself, And I was like, well, I feel like idiot, dog, you know? And now I see those videos of people like in downtown Philadelphia or whatever, you know,
just fucking leaned out.
And I was like, that's what I looked like that night. I was like, oh no, thank you. I'm good on that. But, you know, for the next 2.5 years, you know, all I did was drink, you know, and I just drank beer most of the time. Every once in a while, you know, there would be some harder liquor involved, you know, but I drank beer and smoked weed, and you know, I kind of had adopted this mentality of you know, I'm from old school, so you know, when we hang out, party, you know. We drink beer, we smoke weed, we play dominoes, we talk shit, you know. We leave the front door to the apartment open, you know what I'm saying? You know, but the thing is that people would come and go, whatever, but I had adopted the mentality you know, that if you talk about anything other than beer or pot in here, you got to go. You got to go. You just got to go.
Really?
Yeah, and I was pretty adamant about that, you know, and all that changed. I was living at an apartment up there just off of Far West, and little bitty apartment complex right there, and they didn't do no background checks. That's how I was able to get in there. Anyway, so right behind the apartment complex is, you know, regular houses and shit, right? And so I was always out. I lived in the very back corner apartment up in the back corner, right? And I'd be out there, you know, and I'd be on the phone and stuff. And I didn't, you know, I don't realize how loud my voice is and shit, you know, my conversations go, you know. Yeah. And so anyways, we're sitting there one night playing dominoes, me and the regular crew, you know, chopping it up, talking shit, you know. And all of a sudden, this guy shows up at my front door, and I look, like, "Can I help you, homie?" You know, like, he says, "You seem like the man that knows how to get things."
Oh man!
And I was like, "Excuse me," he says, and he repeated it in that same, and it was a real accent. He was really from Ireland. Yeah. And he goes, "You seem to me like the man that knows how to get things." And he said, "I'm looking for some oxycodones." And I was just like, I jumped up, flipped up, met him at the door. I said, "First of all, don't ever talk about hard drugs in my apartment, too. Number two, I don't know you, fucking homie." Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? And I got enough felonies that I ought to just take you outside right now just for mentioning that at my door. Right. You know? But then that was the start of a relationship where I was the middleman to finding pills, and then he would give me full bottles of whiskey and all that kind of shit. And then I'd pop a couple pills here and there. And there you go.
All over.
Off to the
One
races.
thing leads to another, like an old song from, I don't know, Fix or the Yes or whatever. Yeah. One thing leads to another.
Yeah. So, what was your alcohol? You touched on it, but what was the DOC for you?
What you got, man? Yeah, as long as you paying for it, homie. You know, like, because see, the thing is like, you know, growing up, I never had a dad. You know what I'm saying? Dad was never part of the picture. I never had a dad growing up. You know, my mom was a drug addict. She was a biker chick. She took off when I was 7, sent me and my aunt and uncles. I lived with them. They couldn't handle me. I get kicked out of 2 elementary schools. They sent me to boys' school. I was there for 5.5 years. Got out, went to jail, went to prison. Got out, went right back. You know.
Damn, dude.
So from the time I was 10 to the time I was 25, I spent 13.5 years in different institutions: group homes, jails, boys' schools, all that shit. You know, I was pretty institutionalized, right? And you know. So in all of that, you know, confinement, I guess you would, you know, I learned how to hustle. I'm a hustler. I'm the middleman of all middlemen. Yeah. You know, I'll get you what you need. And it kind of works now with, I'm a handyman. Yeah. I'll fix what you need. Call me what you got. Yeah. I'll get it. We'll get it done. We'll get it fixed, you know. And it was always, I never had anybody put money on my books, you know. I mean, rarely, you know. like my brother, I had my brother. He got me a subscription to Gallery, a 3-year subscription to Gallery magazine, so I could then turn it and sell it for cigarettes and coffee and shit. And then I would flip the coffee 2 for 1, 3 for 1 kind of shit, you know. So I was always hustle mentality, you know. So when I say what you got, you know what I'm saying? You buying it. I'm flying on what you buying. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna get I'm not gonna touch it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you break me proper. You know what I mean? It was the way that I ran it, you know, it's the way I did it. And I didn't have to pay for a lot of drugs. I mean, I did buy a lot of drugs when I smoked crack by myself and it was just me. You know. I didn't do a lot of robbing and stealing for my drugs and alcohol. I didn't do that. You know, my robbing and stealing and all that shit was before my addiction really took off, you know? And my addiction didn't really start to show itself until, you know, I was 30, you know? I mean, I've been out of prison for 5 years and, you know, I was about to get off and, you know, I went, you know, my ex-wife, she was my angel in an envelope, if you will. You know, I was in you know, in my 8x5 cell, hating the world, knocking brothers on their back because, you know, that's just I didn't have nothing. I didn't have nobody. I couldn't get out, you know, even though I had shortwave discharged my time. You know, I didn't have a verifiable address to parole to. So I'm just sitting there buying time. And I got a letter from this chick that I had never laid eyes on, didn't know who she was. Told me she heard about my plight and my situation and that she had an apartment in College Station and she was willing to help me out if I needed a place for a couple of months to get on my feet and blah, blah, blah. And there you go. That's how, first time I laid eyes on my ex-wife was between, you know, maximum security visitation, you know what I'm saying? The glass and whatnot, you know.
Shit.
Preacher's daughter, 3rd generation raised up on the church pew. I'm 3rd generation heathen, demon seed spawn, Satan himself, you know? So, that's how that whole thing went.
So she was a pen pal or some shit?
She what?
She was a pen pal?
So what she turned out to be, so I had 2 other dudes that you know, when we were all incarcerated, we called ourselves the 3 amigos, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, we were clicked up, you know? And the thing is they both got out before me. And the deal was like, help a brother out. You know what I'm saying? Help me find an address and shit, right? So one of the dudes, he actually, he came up to visit me. Well, the girl that he was dating at the time was best friends with who later became my wife.
Chick,
So they all 3 got in the truck and drove up there and dropped him off to visit. And then they went to Huntsville, went shopping or whatever it was they did. And then on the way back to Houston from Midway, you know, she asked him, she said, so tell me about your friend. You know, he's like, oh, yeah, he's a good dude. You know, he works hard, da-da-da, blah, la, 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 la. And, you know, he told her just done. And then I get the letter.
No shit.
You know?
That's
and but the thing that was weird was that we had started writing back and forth to each other. And there was like a 3 or 4 day like turnaround on the letters. And what was weird is like, so she sent the first letter and then I responded to it. And then I received hers back before I know she kind of got mine. And what was weird is that we were already linked up. Like she was saying things that I had already said in my letter, and then she, you know, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I had already liked her because she sent me a picture, right?
Yeah.
But it was with her and 3 other friends when she was in France. You know? And like I didn't know who she was, and she didn't identify herself either. And I was like looking at the picture, like, okay, I mean, they all kind of qualify. You know what I mean? Like,
given my situation.
I mean, okay, you know. And then so then, you know, then I put her on my visitation. She came and saw me or whatever. And, you know, being a preacher's daughter and all that, I got back to the block in there. And she had asked me, we were visiting. She's like, so tell me, you know, she goes on about her family, and she's like, so tell me about your family. I said, oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
That's fucking never-ending story right there. That's like a drama right there. My family puts the funk in dysfunctional.
Yeah.
I said, I come from a long line of drug addicts and alcoholics and shit, you know. And just dysfunctionality. And she's like, do you want a soda? I was like, I can't buy a soda. I said, even if I wanted to, I couldn't. I ain't got no money. And, I said, you have to buy the soda. And you have to go over there and turn around and go around and give it to the guard. Man, she got up. She turned around. She walked away to the Coke machine. I saw that ass. I saw, damn it, boy.
I'm in love.
I was in love. I went back to the block talking about that, boy. And then I said, oh, you looking at that preacher daughter there, boy, you going to burn in hell. I said, oh, welcome to fire. Baby. Welcome to fire. Oh, Lord have mercy. I'm getting loud. Motorboat that shit. For real. But, yeah. And anyway, so, we got together the first night, Turns out the guy that, basically I met her through had actually stole her shit. The first night we went out, he was like trying to talk me out of, that with her. And he was trying to get me to go. Like, dude, I just got out of penitentiary, dude. I've been in there for 5.5 years, bro. I am not trying to go do no bullshit with you. Later, I find out. So that first night that we all three went out and hung out, he stole her checkbook and her credit cards and shit, dude.
Oh, man.
And found that out. And then later on, a few months later, I started getting these, things in the mail talking about I had a warrant for my arrest and this and that and whatnot. And I was like, what the fuck? And so I started trying to figure it out. Turns out, while I was in prison, he was getting arrested, and he was giving them my name and my birthday and shit, and their fingerprint. Dude. And that's the only, I had to spend like a month, over about 6 weeks or so, going to Dallas and Galveston and all. And the only reason is I fell out of Galveston County twice. And because, that was in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And so everything was paper back then.
Yeah.
So that's how he was able to slide through the same county without getting noticed that it wasn't me or whatever. So when I went up there, the sergeant who had been or the CO was not the CO, he was a captain now, and he remembered me. And he's like, oh, yeah. And they cleared it all up and gave me letters to drive around with and shit. Finally, I had to do the job for the DPS. And finally, I called our other buddy, Scott, and I said, look, man. He says, yeah, man, I saw him. I said, you give me his name now, or I'm coming to your house, And so he told me where he was and whatnot, and I had to send the cops over there to arrest his ass so he stopped using my name and shit,
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, so, yeah. And matter of fact, that dude tried to send me a Facebook request the other day. Hell no, man.
Spam blocked.
Not hell, but hell no.
How long have you been sober, man?
November 19th of 2013. So little over 11 years.
Man, congratulations, bro.
Thanks, bro.
Good job. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I like I said, I started the first time.
How many times did you try to get sober?
Really, really tried.
Yeah. Like when you went away, were you sober in jail, in prison?
No.
Because I've never been, but I've always heard that it's pretty easy to get shit in there.
So the thing is because I didn't have money, and I didn't have nobody visiting or put money on my books, I was hustling for my shit, right?
Right.
So the cheaper alternative when I was incarcerated was they would give you blister packs of Actifed, not Sudafed, Actifed.
Okay.
Actifed's got 60 milligrams, not 30 milligrams like Sudafed.
Yeah.
Right? You take 10 Actifeds and you take a handful of Actifeds and you drink about 5 cups of strong ass coffee, or what we used to call a speedball, where you take a Coke and then after you get the Coke heated up, you take about 3 shots of the instant coffee and put it in there. Dude, your fucking cell is spotless at the end of the night. Your fucking drawers is white. Your pants are all creased up and shit, dude. You're in that 8x5 just scrubbing, And so, yeah, I took it got so bad, like, So to answer your question, I took lots of Actifeds,
I got you.
There was 1 or 2 occasions where I, took a puff or 2 off of a joint. It wasn't mine. I didn't, when I got out, I found myself, this was back before they started putting all the shit behind the counter and all that kind of stuff. And you had to go turn it in and, you know. Anyways, I go into Walmart or I'd go into Walgreens and they would have a bottle with 100 of them in there, you know? Yeah. And so shit, I would just shoplift it, you know, and put it in my pocket and walk out, go out to the truck and I pop me 20 Actifeds, you know, and I'm going, you know what I'm saying, all day, you know, same kind of shit. And then smoking copious amounts of marijuana, you know, and it wasn't good weed. It was Mexican dirt weed, pressed brick with fucking with squeeze stems in it and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Just and a bush squished together.
I'm having to smoke a half an ounce a day just to come down enough to, you know, to get 5 hours. I
remember my buddies that used to roll those. Yeah. They'd be smoking them and they pop because the seeds and shit pop in there.
Oh yeah. But the worst part of it is the skin, the whole off of the seed. You know, that shit stinks so bad. Dude. I don't know how we ever did that shit, dude. You know, yeah. But how many times besides when you were in prison? How many times did you really try to get sober? So the first time that I went to treatment, you know, I checked myself into treatment. I had gotten off parole in 2000. I did 4 years and 10 months, and I got off by the skin of my teeth, and that's kind of another little story. But I was the only parolee that my parole officer was able to successfully graduate off of parole. Okay. You know, but a couple of months before that, I was fucking up and staying out and whatnot. And my mother-in-law, you know, God bless her soul, rest her soul. She's the sweetest woman in the world, man. She went to my parole officer and said, he's on some shit and we don't know what to do. We don't know how to help him, this and that and whatnot. So I go in for my regular PO visit. It's like, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm good, everything, you know, kind of. She's like, yeah. She's like, are you getting, she goes, are you doing any, she goes, you been drinking? I said, not really, no. She goes, you been doing any drugs? Yeah. Yeah? What are you doing? Cocaine. She goes, I know. Your mother-in-law was in here 3 days ago. She goes, and if your ass would have said anything else, I was sending your ass right fucking back. She goes, let me get something straight to you. She goes, I'm going to let you know you are the only one that I'm going to get to graduate. She goes, and you're not fucking it up for me. You're not fucking it up. She goes, you coming back in here, you're taking a test until you're off every week. You know what I'm saying? You're not messing this up for me. She goes, I'm getting my gold star, you know? And so anyways, I got off parole in June of 2000. And by October, I checked myself in, you know, to treatment. And I had a connection up in Dallas, you know,
Isn't it crazy?
I was getting teeners for $40 off the brick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and I'd probably spent $20,000 with them to get that, you know, connect.
Yeah.
And then it was, you know, it was game on then. Game on. You know,
it's always crazy to me how fast, like fucking, it goes from here to here real quick. Like at work sometimes, like not so much now, but when I was first getting sober, and I'd like call in sick or something. They'd be like, oh, he might be using again. And I would have to tell them, like, y'all would know if I'm using again. Yeah. Because you've seen me sober now. And if I got high right now, I would be so high that I wouldn't come back in this motherfucker.
I wouldn't call in either.
I wouldn't call in. I'm not calling in. I ain't. You're gonna have to look Williamson County and fucking Travis County and see if I got arrested up in this motherfucker. Because I'm not showing up.
APB.
I'm gonna have a crazy story at the end of the week because I'm not showing up today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm going to show up Friday and tell you some crazy shit.
Yeah. So I, you know, that was a big to do. That whole, you know, it was a progression of stuff, man. Finally, so I checked myself into treatment at the Cedars up in Dallas, and you know, I had a lot of trauma when I was younger. You know, in my childhood. I was, you know, my first real trauma that I can distinctively remember, I was like 6 and my mom was at work and her motorcycle boyfriend, you know, Travis, was supposed to be watching us for the day. I was upstairs and I was listening to Bad Leroy Brown way loud and shit and dancing in the living room and acting a fool like I normally do. That was me at 6. And I wasn't disciplined. I wasn't a disciplined child, you know? And so he came upstairs and he'd been down there working on his motorcycle. And so he had in his hand, he had the cable off a motorcycle brake in his hand, the brake and the cable.
Shit.
And so he made me stand behind the front door on my tiptoes, and where my nose was, he put a dot, right? And so then he made me put my nose in the dot as punishment. And every time my nose came out of that dot, he whooped me with that cable off that motorcycle brake, dude.
Damn.
Mercilessly it felt like forever, but it was probably more like 10 minutes, you know, 5, 10, 20 minutes. I don't remember what it was. I know it was a good ass whooping.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any idea about who God was and what God was about and all of that stuff. But I did have a little Bible, you know? And after that whooping, I remember running into my bedroom and crawling under my bed. And I grabbed my little pocket knife, I had a little bitty pocket knife, and I grabbed my Bible. And I remember crawling under there and stabbing the pages of the Bible. Because how could a God of love and care and compassion and all of those things let this happen to a 6-year-old little boy?
Right.
You know? And so then it was a year later. My mom abandoned me and my sister to my aunt and uncles. Never heard from her again. Still, I mean, here we are 48 years later. Still ain't got that phone call. You know what I'm saying? You know, and so then I went to boys' school. I was 10. I got kicked out of 2 elementary schools. My aunt and uncle didn't know what to do with me. They sent me out to Cal Farley Boys Ranch. I was there not 30 days and got raped. You know, and got molested and raped, and it shit happened until I could, you know, until I got old enough and big enough to fight them off and shit. And then after that, you know, that's why I didn't have no problem in prison. You know what I'm saying? Because I was young, pretty, and white, and still walked out with my butthole tight. Dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I had a lot of rage. I had a lot of rage inside of me, dude. And the thing was, I didn't want to live. You know, so you know. I got out of there. I went back. My aunt and uncle pulled me back out of Boys Ranch after 5.5 years and brought me back home. I was there 6 months. I ran away. CPS picked up custody of me. My uncle dropped custody. CPS picked up custody of me, and they sent me to a group home out in West Texas, out in Fort Davis. I was out there for a year. Went to school year round, and it was a halfway stop, you know, group home for young offenders in TYC, you know, and they would send them there and then put them out into the deal.
Right.
That wasn't me. I'd have gotten kicked out of 5 different 30-day shelters, and CPS didn't know what to do with me, so they sent me out there. They said, "You want to be knucklehead? We got a spot for you." And they sent me out there. That's the first time I try to hang myself. I still got that scar around my neck, man. And I hung in a tree for about 10 minutes before they were able to get me cut down. And then it took them another 5 or 10 minutes to actually get the rope because it was so tight, you know, that they were scared they were going to cut my neck, you know. And I was in a coma for about a week, and the whole left side of my face was paralyzed for about 6 months. You know, I'd have like syrup dripping out my chin and shit, you know. And it all came back, you know. But you know, I didn't want to be here. You know, I didn't like my life. I didn't want to be here. So then got out of group home. CPS didn't know what to do with me. I got kicked out of group home. They didn't know what to do with me. So they brought me back to Galveston. They emancipated me. And at 17, they took me around the corner and said, "There's this place called Our Daily Bread." And they took me and they said, "If you get hungry, there's a spot over here. You can come every day. They open the doors and you can get something to eat." And then they took me and they dropped me off on the corner of 23rd and Broadway in Galveston in front of the Salvation Army and said, "Have a good life, kid." You know, I didn't have no job experience. I didn't have nothing. I didn't have nothing. No job experience. Nobody wanted. All I had was a backpack full of clothes. And that lasted 48 hours before I got robbed down there at 33rd and Cedar Terrace and shit, you know.
So he robbed you of the nothing that you had.
The nothing that I did have. Yeah. My little Swatch watch and some fucking gummy bands and other bullshit. Left the brother in his fucking underwears and shit, you know, in the middle of Cedar Terrace in Galveston, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, so, I started robbing and stealing and breaking into cars and, selling all whatever I had to do to survive, to get by, and having endured the traumas that I did do. There was things that I did that I didn't, you know what I'm saying, that I'm not proud of.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? But that's where my drugs and alcohol started.
The addiction, for
Now,
sure.
see, the thing is like to back all the way up, everybody in my family drank, when I was a kid. So before I was 7, when I went to go to visit my grandma, because I was a heathen child, right? So my aunt and uncle didn't want me coming when my mom was going to go drop my sister off with them. My mom would take me to my grandmother's house. My grandmother, she was mean as a rattlesnake, dude. And she was a bigot from dirt poor Oklahoma, and she did not care. She did not hesitate, not one bit, to tell you who you was and what she thought of you. And she drank vodka all day, And when I went to her house, she would make me her special OJs,
Yeah.
And I'd be running around her living room with a cigarette in one hand and a screwdriver in the other hand, singing "Wasted Days and Wasted Nights." Freddie Fender turned up as loud as he could on the stereo, and she just loved me. I just entertained her, But then when my mom couldn't drop me off, I had to, hang out with her and her biker boyfriends and all that shit or whatever. And my job was to break up the weed so we could play Puff the Magic Dragon.
And how old were you?
I was 5, 6.
Fuck, man.
And, so I already had taste of drugs and alcohol. So they couldn't figure out what my problem was when I went to go live with my aunt and uncle. It's because I ain't got no drink and I ain't got no smoke.
Yeah.
And I remember smoking weed for the first time as a 15-year-old when I got out of boys' school. My brother gave my first joint. We were out there outside the mall and smoking a joint. And I remember smoking that joint with them. And all of a sudden I had this rush of childhood memories just flooded on me, like 10,000 memories in one moment, And I was like, oh, I felt like this before.
Wow.
And,
So you had done it when you were like 5
Oh,
or 6.
yeah. So I knew the feeling, and I was like, oh, this is normal.
Yeah.
This is where I need to be right here.
Wow.
Man.
So the whole time they were like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" And that's what it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And see, that's the thing.
That was like your medicine as a kid.
As a child, they didn't have Ritalin and all that shit, Adderall and all that shit. They would. Come here, Stevie. You want to run around here act like a fool? Come here,
shotgun puff.
come here. You ready? And we'd play Puff the Magic Dragon, dude. And that next thing you know, I'm curled up in the corner with a teddy bear and shit. I'm chilled out.
Yeah.
And my grandmother loved it because she'd get me drunk, and I'd be entertainer. It's funny when I looked at some of the videos that my uncle used to take of the family. And every time, in every one of the videos that I'm in, the moment that I notice the camera, I start acting like a fucking idiot. Dude. Acting like a monkey, and just the camera's on me, Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You were getting the attention.
You were getting that attention.
I didn't get...
You weren't getting it. So when you got it, it was overtime.
That's why I always did negative shit.
Yeah.
Because positive attention didn't do nothing for me.
Yeah.
When I did something good, they're like, oh, yeah. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to do that, Stevie,
Yeah.
But I needed more than that, Boy, but you know what? Guess what? If I try to burn the school down, oh, Lord, good gracious. You know what I'm saying?
I'll really get the attention.
I get all the attention, man.
So when you went to rehab, the first time, did all that trauma come back to you? Is that when you...
That's when I started to work on the trauma. The thing was, I was married for 5 years, had 2 kids. Nobody knew any of the shit that I just told you.
Yeah.
I was walking around with all of that stuff.
All that just bottled up.
And so when I was in detox at the Cedars in Dallas, and I was in the shower of all places. And I was one of those guys that I used to talk to God. I mean, because when I was in Boys Ranch, we had to go to school to Bible. We had to go to church 3 times a week. Wednesday, twice on Sunday, and then on Tuesdays, Thursdays after school, we had like a 2-hour Bible study deal where they teach you about the holies of holies and the curtain and the temple and the bells and all the whatnots and all of that, right? So I accepted Christ at 11 at Bible camp, And I thought my life was going to be all gravy and shit. You know what I'm saying? But I had a faith in God and I believed in God, but he hadn't just really showed himself. So there were times in life that when I met my wife, you know, I realized that was a God thing.
That was a
you
God
know what I'm
thing,
saying? And
right?
then I got in,
Getting
you know,
this letter.
she's a Pentecostal preacher's daughter. You know what I'm saying? So I went from brothers hanging on chandeliers in prison because they were rioting to people at church hanging off the chandeliers because they were full of the Holy Ghost and shit, you know? And I was okay with that. You know, the theatrics of it all, I'm like, okay, we're just a different groove. Okay, it's a different tune, you know? And I got into that, you know? But it was very much a double life, you know? And so I remember when I was in detox, I was the kind of guy that, you know, I came in this world naked and naked I'll leave. So when I used to get really, really jacked up, they were building the super collider and outside of Waxahachie, and that's where we lived. And what they did is they abandoned all that property. You know, at some point they decided they weren't going to do it there, right? So they had all these old farms that were out there. But so I used to take all my clothes. I'd drive out to the middle of these wheat fields where there was nobody for miles, you know. And I would strip all my clothes off butt naked in the middle of a full moon, you know what I'm saying, and walk out in the middle of this pasture, and I would yell at God. And like, hey, you know, the life was fucked up, and da-da-da-da-da, and why this and why that, and blah, blah, blah. You know, and God in those moments gave me answers, you know. There was one time I was struck sober completely, you know what I'm saying, with the disrespect that I brought, you know. It was a supernatural thing. But, so I'm standing in the shower in detox, and I'm praying as I'm showering. I'm like, God, you know, all of these secrets, all this shit that I've never told anybody is like fucking leeches. And it's just sucking the life out of my soul. And I can't fucking do this anymore, man. You know? And that's, you know, I use drugs and alcohol to anesthetize the pain of the past. You know what I'm saying? I tried suicide 3 times. You know, the 3rd time I was in prison. You know what I'm saying? I hung myself off the 4-row window. And somehow the rope broke, and I landed. One of my legs caught in the window, and it turned me upside down. I landed 25 feet up in the air and landed head first on the concrete and walked away. Trust me, they stop messing with you when they talk about, I'm gonna take you off count, man, after the bell, after they roll the doors. I wish you would. You'd be doing me a favor, homie. I couldn't do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? They don't mess with you no more at all. So I'm standing in the shower and I'm like, God, this is like leeches sucking the life out of my soul, and I don't know how to get past this, man. And he you know, he tweaked my perception in a moment. He says, Stephen, you're looking at it wrong. You know? He says, in the physical world, when we take people in the Army or the Marines or whatever, you know, service, whatever service, branch of service they're in, and we send them out to battle, right? God willing, they make it back. You know what I'm saying? They are given medals of valor and courage and Purple Hearts, and, you know, from injuries and whatnot. So when you see those guys out on the parade grounds, dressed to the nines, standing at attention, and they got all their medals on the, you know, on their deal, you can walk down that line and you can look and you can see that guy that's got all those medals. And you can look and say, you don't even have to know his name. You can say, that's that son of a bitch I want in my foxhole when the shit goes down. Because I know he's seen it. Right. You know? And he says, Stephen, it's the same thing in the spiritual realm. He says, I have brought you through all these things. You know? These are all battles that you have come through. So rather than hiding them, you have to speak of them. You know? You have to display your spiritual medals, you know, to the world so they can know that you've seen the battle. And then what you do in that moment, because see, the thing that happens is that we have these secrets and the stuff that eats at us, right? And, you know, we have the 7 deadly sins. We got pride, anger, gluttony, greed, lust, envy, slothfulness, right? Well, the byproducts of the 7 deadly sins are shame, remorse, self-loathing, worry, fear, doubt, you know, all of those things are byproducts of the 7 deadly sins, right? And that's what I call the enemy of life, the devil, however you want to put it or word it, that's what the enemy of life uses to hold us down. Those are the arrows that he shoots at us, you know,
Damn.
as I'm walking through my day. And so what happens is when the moment that I say, you know what? Yeah, I did. I got raped at 10. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I did some shit when I was 17, living on the streets and shit that I'm not proud of. You know what I'm saying? I did it, you know. Once I can own that and show that I've come through that, what I've done is I've flipped the script on the devil and I've emptied his quiver of arrows. He ain't got shit to shoot at me. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to worry about my pride. You know what I'm saying? Because I got no pride. I'm just like anybody else. I'm a spoke in the fucking wheel. I've done the same shit you've done the same shit you've done.
Yeah.
We've all done the same shit.
Yeah.
You know, just because we sin differently don't mean that we ain't sinners.
That's
You know?
well,
That's
and I
powerful,
think
bro.
to your point too, that's super powerful. But you know, just like you would want that guy in your foxhole, now they want you in their foxhole with them. You know what I mean? To kind of, because again, you've done the same shit.
Right.
You've done the same shit, but there's a lot of people who have done the same shit as you, and you can walk them through how to fucking help them out.
And the way this is how, and it talks about it in the book about how, you know, an alcoholic can win the entire confidence of another alcoholic in a short time, you know, in just a few hours, you know. And that's the whole like, I didn't know when God tweaked my perception, I didn't know nothing about Alcoholics Anonymous. I used to go to NA to get my little old paper signed for parole, you know, and, and I learned their little chants, you know what I'm saying, and all their little things or whatever they say during the meetings and the readings and all that shit. But I wasn't there I wasn't there to get better.
wasn't there to
you know
get
what
help.
I'm saying? But in that moment, I was so thankful for that because it was God showing me, let's work on it. So I then went from detox. I went to Summer Sky out in Stephenville, and this, you know, great lady named Sparky. Now, she wasn't one of us, but she was a great fucking counselor. And she's the one that I needed to deal with my stuff because I had a whole lot to unload, you know? Or as I used to say, you know, I got more issues than National Geographic. You know what I'm saying? You know, trust that, you know? And I had a guy years ago tell me, he says, well, Stephen, he says, that may be true. He says, but let's look at the word, you know, issues. Issue. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got issues, issue. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, Sparky was her nickname.
That's good shit.
And she, you know, she helped. So I went from there to another place out in Argyle after my 30 days for more treatment to deal with some of the sexual trauma and the bullshit and whatnot, and do the EMDR. And so it was very cutting edge back then. But, and I did that. Did I stay sober? I got the wife back. I got the kids back. You know, we moved to California. You know, did I stay sober? I tried. I went to a couple meetings. Not really. You
Wasn't
know?
working a program.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is when I was 17 and the CPS dropped me off and said, have a good life, kid, I made a decision that day that from that day forward, there ain't no grown people trying to tell me
You're not gonna
nothing
tell me
from
shit.
now on. I'm an adult, you know? So when I came in and started trying to do programming and shit, and they told me, get a sponsor and do what you're told and suggestions and then, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fuck, if I'm a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
My sponsor always tells me, if you got to say you're a grown-ass man, you're not a grown-ass man.
That's,
you know?
there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it.
Yeah, my sponsor's got like 46 years, dude, and he's fucking Zen master, dude. Like, he comes up with the best one-liners and shit.
Oh, yeah, you're a strong fucking second to that. Like, I've been in a room with you a time or two, man.
Well, thank you, bro.
And I think, so one thing stands out. The first time, so I went to go support Mike in a room. You were there, and you made me laugh so hard under my breath. Like, I wanted to laugh out loud so bad. But it was the point where they were like, if you're a sponsor and can sponsor people, raise your hand. You just out loud go shop till you drop. And dude, I just fucking put my head down and I just went.
And it's true because there's so many people that come in and they're new and they're like, oh yeah, hey, will you sponsor me? You know?
Yeah.
And then that person tells them to do something like, oh hey, will you sponsor? My sponsor's not working out, you know. So that's why I say that. Shop till you drop, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You want to come in here and you want to shop around, you're going to drop out.
Yeah.
You drop out. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to. Here's the thing. And, you know, I don't have
I never thought about it like that.
I don't have to sell Alcoholics Anonymous or CA or NA or I don't have to sell it. You know, that ass whooping out there in the jungle, that sells it right there.
Yeah.
You know, that sells itself, you know. And there's a spot in the book. It says I call it the promises that ain't the promises, you know. And one of the things that, oh no, I don't need it. Oh yeah, it says that over a period of time it gets worse, never better. You know. So anytime people go out there and they come back, I said, they get any better? And, I said, well, so I guess the book was right, huh?
Yeah.
Right. And so I tell people all the time, I said, now you may come in here, brother, with a monkey on your back, but you fuck around and stay here for a minute and go back out there, you're going to find a gorilla.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it gets worse, never better.
Yeah.
You're going to find a new breed.
Yeah.
You know, you'll find a new low. You know, at least that's my experience. See, one of the things was, so I came in 2000 the first time, and my sobriety date's 2013.
Right.
You know, I went to treatment 6 different times. I went to Austin Recovery, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. I went to a place called the Big Book Boot Camp out in Deer Park called the Wheelhouse. You know, oh, Lord have mercy. They take only the lowest of the low. If you still got a watch on and you come to sit in and try to get in over there, you're not done. Go. Oh, you still got new tennis shoes on? You're not done. Shit, you got another crack rock on your feet, dog.
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, they only take the bottom of the bottom, and you eat beans and rice every day. You know, they call it riding the wood. When you get in trouble, everybody has to sit there, and you got to read the big book all the way through, paragraph by paragraph, going around the room. And then when you get to the end, they make you read it backwards. You know, the next paragraph. Dude, it's rough, bro. They call it Big Book Boot Camp because anytime you're out and about on the property, you better have your big book open, and you better not get caught with it in the stories. It's in the first 164 pages. You better have that book open with your finger at least in one of the pages. You know, yeah, they don't mess around at the Wheelhouse, man.
Damn.
Yeah, and so then I went back to Summer Sky, you know, and so my deal was I'd come into AA or NA or whatever, CA.
Yeah.
You know, I did CA for a while, but I would come in and I would hear people bad-mouthing Jesus and God and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't get on board with that shit, right?
Yeah.
So I had 2 different experiences with God. And this is how I know the God that I learned about and all the things that I prayed and I received and all this kind of stuff. My wife and I, we had moved. I was cheating on my wife. She grabbed the kids and she moved to Hearn outside of College Station. She says, if you want us in your life, you bring your ass on. You know, so I left the dope and I left the mistress. I left the mistress, you know, and I drove down there. And anyways, you know, I'm there and, you know, my wife called me one day and she goes, hey, I just talked to my mom. And she told me that brother so-and-so's got a church over here. She goes, you want to go to a Wednesday night service? I'm like, shit, I got to go, baby.
Yeah.
You know? And so I go to this church. Never been to this church. I don't know anybody, right? It's in College Station. And we go in, you know, and shake hands with the ushers and go in, get the little thing, you know, and, you know, they're singing and clapping and raising their hands and worshiping and, you know, get into all that, you know. And then the pastor, he's like, okay, and he dismissed the musicians from the platform. He's like, this is a part of service where if you got something you need to pray about, come on down to the front. You know what I'm saying? We'll get one of our prayer warriors to pray with you and whatnot. And so I already knew what time it was. Like as soon as he dismissed me, I said, I already stepped out there. I'm flying down to the front, you know? And I get down to the very front. And I bow my head, close my eyes, and I cross my arms just like this. I'm standing down there at the altar. and I'm silently petitioning God, and I'm like, God, I just found out that the guy on my birth certificate may not be my dad, and why was my family lying to me about it? And was there money? And is there distrust? And oh yeah, by the way, I got a cocaine addiction, and oh yeah, my marriage is on the rocks, and I can't find a job, and la 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 la. I'm just, and it's all mental. You know what I'm saying? I'm silently petitioning God. Nobody knows what's going on but me. And I'm standing there, and as I have my head bowed, my eyes closed, my arms crossed, I had this thought that just came out of nowhere that I had a shield in this hand and a sword in this hand, right? And I can feel the sword and I can feel the shield, like, all right? And I was like, dude, you're fucking nuts, bro. You need help, bro. Like, you're certifiable, man, because here you are in church and you're praying, and now all of a sudden you think you're fucking Conan the Barbarian, bro. Yeah. Like, you need help, bro. And so I took this thought and I, took it and dismissed it as complete lunacy, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And tried to get back to my prayer. And within about 30 seconds of me dismissing this thought, this guy leans into my shoulder right here and kind of says real soft in my ear, he says, Stephen, God just told me to tell you put a sword in your hand. And dude, at that moment right there, I went numb completely from head to toe, because not only does it, I've never been here.
Nobody knows your name.
This guy knows my name. Mm-hmm. Not only does he know my name, he just told me the thought that I just had. I ain't never met a mind reader. I know people that can read behavior real well and shit, you know what I'm saying? But never a mind reader.
Right.
You know? And number 3, the thing that I think's crazy, God said, I put that there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right? And so I had this belief up to this point in my life that God could see what I did, but he didn't know what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I realized that God knows my every thought. Mm-hmm. And as soon as that thought hit me, then I realized how many times I had murdered and tortured the people that had done wrong to me in my life. My abusers and my abandoners and all of this shit. I used to, in my mind, I would, put them on fire and then put them out and pull their fingernails out with all the stuff you see on horror TV tortures. Yeah. I had done that to all of them. And in that moment, I was convicted about all those thoughts that God had seen, and I immediately just fell down and just started, asking for forgiveness, you know what I'm saying, for my evil heart.
Right.
More than anything, But in that moment, I realized that the creator of the universe, God, as I don't really understand, I understand him, but I don't understand him, had made himself real to me,
Right.
That I am individually known by him. He knows my name. He created me here. He knows all of my wants, desires, needs, heartaches, all that. He knows everything that runs through my mind. So now when I have a thought, and forgive me for that one, Lord. People say pray constantly. The Bible says pray constantly. I pray constantly all day. I'm like, forgive me, Lord. Forgive me, Lord. Forgive me, Lord. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's for real. Yeah. So fast forward. This was in 99, I think it was. And so fast forward back in it was January 19th of 2004. And I remember the date specifically because of the simple fact that I was getting divorced the next day, right? On January 20th. And I'd been trying for 6 months. I went to treatment, back to Summer Sky. And, I had a nervous breakdown when we moved to Austin, stripped off all my clothes, walked butt naked down the street, preaching the word of God. And, Travis County and Williamson County really don't like that
they're
shit.
not a
You
fan.
know what I'm saying? I was
Not
right
a
there
fan.
on the line at Anderson Mill. And so they all showed up.
Yeah.
County, APD, but Williams County.
Fuck it, you
Travis
take
County.
them. Fuck it, you take them.
Anyways, so I went back to Summer Sky to try to just kind of get a mental, and so the day that I got out of treatment, I came back and I went to my wife's new apartment where she had my kids and to pick up my vehicle. And the day I got there, I went to give her a kiss and she kind of gave me the cheek and I was like, okay. And then she's like, I want a divorce, And oh, by the way, I have a boyfriend. I'm like, bitch, I've only been gone 30 days. Didn't you give me roadhead on the way to treatment? What happened? It's only been 26 days or some shit, Anyway, so I went to Williamson. I went to Willowwick, Oxford House, and I met this guy when we moved, whatever, this guy named Hamilton, good friend of mine. He's passed since, but he wasn't one of us. But he was a very godly man, and he was of God, and he was of his community. Did he drink and smoke weed? Yeah, he was great, But he showed me that there are good people that do those things. Right. But they can do those things. I can't do those things, Right. But he was a very great man, like heart of gold kind of guy. Drug me up out of the gutter half a dozen times. You know what I'm saying? When I burned it to the ground with crack and speed, whatever. Anyways, so I go to the sober house, and so I start going to the church, where he goes to church, and I start singing in a church choir. And I didn't like AA because they kept bashing God and Jesus and all that. And I didn't like. I'm gonna get.
It's gotten better now, right?
It's a little bit more tolerant.
I got you.
It's kind of like, I don't know. The best analogy I can say on it, is like, how you don't just go out in public these days and call somebody, hey. You don't do that.
Right.
And it's kind of like they don't do the same thing. They're like, fucking Jesus lovers,
Yeah.
It's kind of the same equivalency.
Yeah.
But the best analogy I can put on it is as crude and crass as it may be.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I just couldn't buy. I always did the church thing. I would sober up and go to treatment or go to jail and come out and get into a sober house and whatnot. And the way that it always looked for me was, I'd get sober, and because I'm a hard worker, once I get a job, I'm in. Yeah. I'm in like Flynn. I make good money. I work as many hours as they'll throw at me or whatever, And so I've got the company truck. I'm living in a sober house. I'm going to church. You know what I'm saying? I'm singing in the choir, Promised Land, or over at the UMC, and Methodist Church. And I'm doing all these things, and I'm Friday afternoon, watching the National Geographic, watching the lions, fucking getting at the gazelles and shit. And all of a sudden, here comes this thought. Oh, shit. I sure would like a little bit of crack and a couple scallywag hoes right about now. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. And next thing you know, I'm in the company truck, driving down the airport, done stopped by the fucking convenience store, got the brown bag special, So all I got to do is roll through the spot, and I'm on. Got poo-poos and shit. And the thing is in that moment I'm driving, there's the better part, the angel on this one and the devil on it. This one says, that's probably not a good idea, Stephen. But my body's already there.
Yeah, it's already.
I've already gone through this ritual. I know what's coming. So my body's already letting endorphins and dopamines and all that shit, serotonins is all kicking and ready to go. They're ready for that lid. They're ready for that fucking lid peel, man. Yeah. They're ready for that. Mm-hmm. And I can't do it. I don't have a choice at that point. I don't have a choice. And next thing you know, here I am. One more again. One more again. Right back up under the bridge. You know what I'm saying? Running
losing
around
everything.
Austin, losing everything. And one of the things I found is that every time that I would relapse, it would take me half as long to burn it down. Mm-hmm. So like the first time, it would take me 6 months to burn it down. So then the next time, it would only take me 3 months to burn it down.
Yeah.
And then the next time, it would only take me 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the next time, it's 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the next time, it was a week. And then 3 days. You know what I'm saying? And so, but the thing is each time that I would try to work it, it would take me twice as long to get it back.
Yeah.
It took me 3 months the first time, and it took me 6 months, and then it took me a year, and then it took me, a year and a half, good God, twice as fast and twice as long.
Yeah.
Good Lord, that's not very good odds, bro.
So how'd you get it to stick?
So what finally happened, man? So I went to treatment in 2011. I got out. I was moved into Mike Peck. Let me get in his house, basically on a handshake and whatnot, because I didn't have no money, dude. I had no deposits and all that. So Mike says, "Get a job, and you can pay me. You catch up, whatever." And I've known Mike for years, good friend. There was one time I showed up to Mike's house to do some work. You know what I'm saying? Right before I went to the treatment, and he can't. He knew I'd been up. He could smell the alcohol on me. Plus, he knew I'd been up. And I was about to climb on a ladder and clean out his gutters and all that shit or whatever. And I was back at the house. He said, "Hey, come here for a minute." He walks me out through his house and walks out to the front door. He walks out the front door, and I follow him. And then he turns around and he walks back in. And he reached in his pocket and he pulled out $50 and he says, "Go finish the fucking job. You're not done."
Wow.
I needed that. I needed that day.
Mm-hmm.
I thank God that he gave me that $50 to go buy more crack and alcohol, dude. I had another guy do that to me one night. He showed up, put gas in my truck, handed me fucking $40. Said, "Go finish. You ain't done.
You're not done yet.
You're not done till you're done." And so, in 2011, so I go to treatment. I get out. Mike makes me the manager of a sober house eventually. I'm there for, 5 or 6 months or whatever. I get out in November, right before Thanksgiving. My girlfriend that I had been seeing, she showed up at treatment with a crackhead to take me home. And Mike said, "Nah," he said, "Get your ass in my car. You're not leaving with them. You're coming with me." Thank God he saved me that day, And anyway, so I was there. And then one weekend, I was at work with the guys that I used to work with before. I'm doing the demo work, working for a contractor, architect out of Westlake named Dana Kopp. And anyways, and I was one of the demo guys, you know what I'm saying? I was always there, and first thing, tear this out, do that. Right? And I worked hard. Dana knew I drank. He knew I fucked around, but he the work spoke for itself.
You kind of kept a lid on it.
The work spoke for itself. And so anyway, the guys that I worked with, the other crews and whatever, they're like, "Man, I heard you quit, man. You a quitter. Oh, you ain't gonna have one fucking beer? You gonna have one fucking beer with me, dog? You know, one fucking beer?" And so I listened to this shit all fucking day. Till finally I came, I was like, okay, one fucking beer. There we go.
Off to the races.
Off to the races. You know what I'm saying? That beer, and then I got some more beer, and by the weekend I had a sack of weed. You know what I'm saying? And so I just went and turned in my shit to not be the fucking manager of the sober house. You know, like I'm getting my shit and go. That's kind of the rules. I know the drill.
Yeah.
So that started another, progression of 18 months living out of my car and this and that and Emma Long Park and, all of it, In 2013, I twice checked myself into the psych ward, telling them I'm going to kill myself to try to get off the alcohol because I was just drinking, I'm drinking half a gallon and I'm drinking a good chunk of that every day. Just, got to keep it in me. And I'd go in there just to try to get it to the point where it's manageable to where I wasn't shaking and shit, And each time I got out, went right back to grabbing a drink. So one of the things that I told myself, I quit crossing the felonious line years ago. You know what I'm saying? I'll tow that son of a bitch, you know what I'm saying? But I know what'll get me and what won't get me, And anyways, I told myself I wasn't going to cross the felonious. So I found myself crossing felonious lines again. You know what I'm saying? And anyways, one of the last, I got a hold of some cards and went and bought a bunch of alcohol and cigarettes and all kinds of shit and whatnot. And I'm drunk riding my bike down there by Barton Springs, I done lost my car, which was my house, and I'm, and I'm drunk as fuck, and a fucking car pulls and fucking hits me on the fucking bike, dude. I throw the fucking bike at the car and like, what the fuck, bro, So I pull in there and fucking Barton Springs and whatever. Next thing you know, there's the law, And what's your name? And next thing they said, turn around, put your hand behind you. I said, dude, I got hit by a fucking car, man. Why are you arresting me? He said, you have a warrant for your arrest. I'm like, warrant for what? And it says here you stole an unauthorized use of motor vehicle. And so I had got a DWI earlier in the year from driving that girl's car. You know, she wasn't going to take me to car. My car was in a tollway zone. I needed to go. I took her car, went and moved my car, and drove back in a blackout, not knowing, wrecked her car, went to jail for DWI, got out 2 days later on a PR bond, which has never happened for me. You know, on a Sunday morning, they don't sell alcohol till noon, you know. 10 o'clock, I get out. I'm at 7-Eleven putting a bottle of wine. I hate wine, dude. Just stuffing a bottle of wine in my fucking pants, dude. And I guess it was a month, 3 weeks or a month, you know, out in the elements, under the bridge, flying the sign. You know, I'm here because I'm not all there. I got 2 backpacks full of dirty fucking clothes.
Because I'm not all there.
You know? And then on
That's
the
a
back,
great fucking sign,
yeah,
dude.
oh yeah, and
That's a great fucking sign.
And on the back of it, like the people would look at it and they'd be all serious and shit in their car, you know, because we are the invisible people.
Yeah.
Homeless people, we're invisible.
Yeah.
If you don't make eye contact, we don't exist.
You're right.
You don't have to engage with us if
Right.
you don't make eye contact. You know, so being the invisible person that I am, you know, I'm here because I'm not all there. And they look, and I see their eye dark, and then I would flip it over, and on the back of it say, "It's funny, you can laugh."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's when they would reach in and, all right, you got me.
right.
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. And or sometimes I throw a fucking rainbow crown wig on,
Yeah.
just something to get their attention. Hey,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. And so I'm, you know, basically, you know, I'm living in and around, you know, the area 2222 in Mopac right there, right around Northland. And, you know, and there was a few days sleeping out in the elements where the fog in the morning dew comes in and it settles on you. And it's fucking cold and you're wet, you're soaked to the bone, you know. And that morning I had a couple of beers and I don't know, half a pint of whiskey in my bag, you know, and I knew I could get a hot cup of coffee at Northland. I was like, fuck it, dude. I took a couple capfuls of the whiskey, man, to try to knock the fucking, so I wouldn't get the willies and shit and go fucking get me a couple cups of coffee. Listen to a meeting. And I used to be one of those some bitches, homeless. I would go into a meeting. I'd tell you my sad ass story about my childhood. I'd fucking rake you out of $20, dude, for sure, every time.
Yeah.
You know, and I used that as emotional currency. You know what I'm saying? I would use it. You would feel sorry for me, and I would get something from you, you know, and yeah, and so I was that guy at the AA meetings, you know. Oh man, he's out there panhandling in the parking lot. That was me. I did that. That was me. I wasn't panhandling, but I'd give you something like you felt like you got your money worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Entertain you some kind of way, you know.
Yeah.
And so I went up there, and you know, come in, get 5 months, get 6 months, whatever, you know, and you know, go back out. You know, it's kind of my MO. You know, I do the church thing or whatever. I never really would come all the way in and sit all the way down and all that, you know, take the cotton out of your ear, put it in your mouth, boy, and all that bullshit. Like, fuck you. My baby body pray, and I got 14 years old. Oh, that's amazing. Like, I'm sorry, nigga, you're not selling me that shit, dog. It's just, you're not selling it to me, bro. And so, yeah. I walked in that morning, I got me a cup of coffee, and I sat down at one of the table. And this old timer came over and he sat down. And he said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm okay, man." And he asked my name or whatever. And, you know, then my hair was super crazy and just all froed out and crazy looking and shit. And they said, "What?" I said, "Man, I've been doing this thing. I've been around long enough to know, man, I need a temporary sponsor, man." I said, "Will you temporary sponsor me till I get, you know?" And he says, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Let's talk after the meeting." So we go in the meeting. After the meeting, we're sitting out there at the tables out in the back. And he says, man, what if I told you never have to drink again? I said, man, that'd be great. He said, what if I never told you, what if I told you never have to drink again if you want to? I don't know about all that. That sounds like some far-fetched shit right there. You know, put some weeby-GB on me or some shit. Because I know what it's like to use when I don't want to. Now you're going to tell me I'm going to stay sober when I don't want to? I ain't buying that one. That hog ain't selling today. You know, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, well, what? He's like, what? So, you know, we start talking about, you know, God and this and that. And he's like, man, it sounds to me like you know that Bible better than my pastor. And I said, yeah, man, yeah, you know. And he said, but how's that keeping you sober? It's not, you know. He said, are you done? I said, yeah, but I've said that 1,000 times. He said, you got any alcohol in that bag? I said, yeah. He said, let's pour it out. Okay. So I go over there and I make kind of a big production. I pull the beers out, you know, and I'm pouring the 2 beers I have out. And yeah, man, you know, I'm getting rid of that alcohol, that poison from the devil.
Yeah.
You know?
Today's the day.
Yeah, today's the day.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
You know? And so, anyway, I sit back down. He's like, how do you feel? And I'm good. I'm great. And then all of a sudden, just something came over my spirit. I said, I feel like shit, man. He's like, well, what do you mean? I said, I feel like shit because I'm a fucking liar, man. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I still got a half a pint of whiskey in my bag. He said, what's that for? I said, because I know what it's going to be like in 2 hours from now. You know, I took 2 capfuls before I got here. You know, I've been in here for 2 hours now. You know what I'm saying? Having this conversation with you, I know I'm going to need a couple nips off that bottle in a minute, man. He said, why don't we pour that out? And boy, I got scared. I got real scared. I wasn't even as scared going down the hallway, you know, Ferguson unit, you know what I'm saying? Maximum security at 20 years old, you know what I mean? I wasn't scared going down the hallway as I was pouring out that whiskey that day, man. And he said, you willing to be uncomfortable for a couple of days? I said, I guess, man, you know. And so I did it. I poured it out. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, I don't have nothing to do. I'm going to hang around here because I heard that I can do that. He said, yeah, do that. He said, stick around here. Go to the noon meeting. So I'm sitting there and he said, I'm going to give you $20 so you can get yourself something to eat today. He said, but you're going to come mow my yard tomorrow morning for that $20. He says, how does that sound? I said, okay. I don't want you to give me nothing. Let me work it off. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You know, I don't want to owe nobody nothing. And so anyway, he leave. Noon meeting comes and goes, whatever. So that afternoon, after the noon meeting, I sit down out there in the foyer, and this older lady walks up to me, and she leans in. She goes, Stephen, I've been watching you coming in and out of here for 5 years. She says, you don't let these old motherfuckers run you off the time. I said, she speaks my language. You know what I'm saying? You know, I wasn't expecting her, you know. And she goes, she goes, I know you're living under that bridge. She says, you don't go under that bridge no more. She says, you come up here after 10 o'clock and you stay here on the property. Don't be out here milling around and doing no bullshit. Stay on this property. Sleep out there on one of their picnic benches. You know what I'm saying? Sleep on the side of the building, you know, but don't go back under that bridge no more. She goes, you stay here. And if anybody says anything to you about it, you tell them I said. And at that moment, she gave me a sense of belonging.
She cared.
You know? So about an hour later, I'm outside on the back porch and I'm smoking a cigarette. And I look over there and they got these big ladders chained to a tree over there by the sheds. And what's on top of that? 2 moving blankets and 2 pillows, dude. I said, oh, she done put some shit out for me to sleep on a deal. I said, look at that, boy. And so, sure enough, I went to meetings and then got my ass back up there, got dropped off by 10:30, went over there, grabbed those blankets, went over to the side of the building, crawled up there on that little sidewalk part and, you know, went to sleep. Sun came up. It was right around meeting time. You know, I rolled off there onto my knees, did the 3rd step prayer on my knees in the dirt, folded up those blankets, put them back on the thing, and went in there and got me a cup of coffee, man. And went to the meeting. After the meeting, the guy takes me to his house to mow his yard, and he looks at my hair. He's like, "Hey man, you want to get a haircut?" I said, "Oh no, not my hair, man. That's how people that bathe my crazy hair. They see my wild hair, like, oh, don't mess with him. He's like." And so anyway, I mow his yard. He takes me back up to the club. And right before the noon meeting, I'm sitting out there in the foyer, and this lady walks up and she goes, "Hey," after the meeting, get with me. I've got some things for you or whatever. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know her. I don't know, what's she talking about? She got some things for me, but I mean, Anyways, the meeting gets over with. She catches me out there and she goes, "Hey, come here. Come out to my car. I got some things." So I follow her out there to the car, and I get out there, and she flips open the hatch thing or whatever, and she's like, "I just cleaned out my husband's closet and my 18-year-old son's closet, and they got all these clothes, and I got a bunch of them, and I think they'll work for you." And so she like starts pulling it. She's like, "I think, what about this shirt? What about these? These shorts are good, And she, and I'm like, "Yeah." She looked at me. She goes, "Would you like a haircut?" And I was like, "Well, obviously I need a haircut. You're the second person that's asked me that shit today, And she goes, "Well, I cut hair." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. She goes, yeah, I cut hair. What? I mean, we could do it whenever. When would you like to do it? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know. I'm so busy under the bridge. I don't think I can pencil you in. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a rough one, We'll see if we can get it. And so I just look, and she's steady pulling out these clothes. "What about this one? What about that?" I said, "Miss Janice," I said, "can I be real with you for a minute?" She says, "Absolutely." I said, "I haven't showered, I don't know, 8, 10 days. I don't remember." And I said, "And I stink." I said, "I stink so much that I can't go in those rooms. And I need those meetings, but I can't go in those meetings." And I said, "The reason I can is because people are moving from where I'm sitting, because if I can smell myself, I know they can smell me, and I don't feel comfortable sitting in that room. All I want to do is just shower. I just want to fucking wash my old nasty, dirty, rusty butt, And, she said, I did. I smelled like a herd of wild goats, bro. So anyway, so she just looked at me. She goes, and mind you, this woman is all of about, I don't know, maybe 5'4", I'm more like 5'2", little bitty woman, right? Maybe weighs 110 pounds, maybe, And she goes, "You go get your things right now." So I go and grab my 2 backpacks full of dirty clothes and shit. She takes me to her house in the absence of her husband, in the absence of her son. She sets me up in the shower, puts me some other clothes out, some clean, fresh clothes. And I take a long, hot shower, man. Nice, long, hot shower and wash my hair and all that, And then I come out of the shower, she had made me a sandwich, something to eat and whatnot, And so I eat. And then she takes me and she puts me in her barber chair that she has at her house. And she gives me a respectable haircut, similar to what I have now, And then she takes me back up to the club. She shows back up at the 5:30 meeting with every stitch of the things that I owned, washed, dried, folded up, smelling like Gain, dude. You know what I'm saying? Fuck, I never smelled clothes fresher in my life, dude. Then reaching in my old dirty backpack and pulling out another shirt that had to smell which ones doesn't stink so bad, kind of shit. And then I had these tennis shoes I've been wearing for, 2 years, and they oh God, they were bad.
Yeah.
She had washed those and then put them out in the sun and let them, and and then she brought them back up there, dude. And that's when I said, "You know what? I'm all in on this shit." That old lady yesterday and this lady today, I'm going to do whatever these motherfuckers tell me to do, bro.
Well, God bless them.
I'm all on. And the thing is that, I've always had trust issues with women.
Yeah.
Because of my mom leaving and shit. You know what I'm saying? And God used 2 older women. And the thing that crossed my mind more than anything that day when she took me to her house was, what kind of faith must this woman have? That she's a fucking warrior.
Yeah.
That she would take this dude that she don't know from Adam, you know what I'm saying, to her house. She don't know who I am or what I'm capable of, She tells the story now. She's never done it before and she's never done it again. It was a fluke that she did it that day. But from that day forward, you know what I'm saying? Like
That's
from
God
the day
God working
before
through
was my sober day, you know, when she told me about, and, I got a sponsor, I got a regular sponsor. The guy said, let me do some side work for him. And we went and did it. And we were driving back and I asked him a question and he said, I don't know. Why don't you look in the book? And the answers are in the book. So I pulled his little copy of the book out and one of the big prints and I opened it up and every page was diagrammed and like a 7th grade English teacher had gone through it and shit and writing all in the fucking margin and shit and whatever. And I was like, this guy knows the book. This is who I need to walk behind. I asked him then, I said, will you be my sponsor? He said, I'd be honored to be your sponsor. And he told me things like, leave it better than you found it, whether it's your mess or not. You do the 5 daily disciplines, What are the 5 daily disciplines? Read your big book, go to a meeting, call your sponsor, talk to another alcoholic, pray and meditate. Well, guess what? If I go to a meeting, we read from the big book, there's other alcoholics there. And my sponsor told me, he says, make yourself a fixture somewhere at the noon meeting every day or at the 7:30, whatever. And if you make yourself a fixture, guess what? You're probably going to find a sponsor there. Guess what? So the only thing I got to do on my own is to pray and meditate if I go to a meeting every day. There's my 5 daily disciplines. He says, I'm 50% responsible for a handshake and introduction. People aren't lined up at the door waiting to meet me because I'm so fucking important and shit,
Right.
Find a guy that that you've never seen before and walk up to him and introduce yourself, And guess what? Remember his name tomorrow, I'll never forget there's a girl, what's her fucking name? Ariel. She tells a story sometimes about how she came in the first day or whatever, so she came back the next day, and I saw her walking over. And I was like, "Hey, Ariel." She goes, "You don't understand what that meant to me. You actually remembered my name and made me feel so welcome and shit."
That's awesome.
And get in the middle of the herd. You can't get picked off if you're in the middle of the herd.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
The most, because you watch National Geographic. I watch a lot of National Geographic, and you don't never see the lion. You know what I'm saying? Run up in the middle of the pack and grab one of the big healthy gazelles.
They're getting the
where
one.
he catch a little straggler off to the side, that's limping and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or the one that's way off from the pack. Once you isolate yourself, you're done for.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People are like, oh, Dixon out in the parking lot doing push-ups. Well, bitch, I wish he would stud up because I'm in here with a room full of gangsters.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That will whoop his ass.
Yeah.
As long as I stay with him.
Yeah.
If I'm riding with him, guess what? I'm going to be with him. My sponsor said, don't hang out with nobody that's got less than 2 years my first year. He said, I don't want you getting a vehicle for a year. Oh, man, how am I going to ask a bitch out to motherfucking movies, man? Say, baby, say, I want to take you to movies. Meet me at the 7 bus, 4:30. Yeah. And then we'll catch the 12 over to, the show, And I was like, man, he's stepping on my game, no? And he said, well, man, you told me that every time you get a vehicle, you wind up on the east side buying dope. He said, all I'm doing is making you take it through 2-3 hour bus ride so you can think about it before you go get it. Damn it, boy.
Yeah.
And so I moved into an apartment right around the corner from Cherry Creek. You know what I'm saying? It was 812 steps or something from my front door to the front door of the club. And the reason I know that is because back when I used to live off St. John on Guadalupe, right there in St. John, I used to count how many steps it was to go to my dope man's house right there on fucking St. John 35. How many steps it was going to take me till I could get right.
Yeah.
And so then I did that one day when I was walking from my apartment over to the club to see how many steps it took me to get right then, the new way, So I moved in. I still live in that same apartment. I've been living there 11 years. It'll be 11 years next month.
Damn.
In the same apartment, same address for 11 years. Never in my life, ever, have I done anything like that. Besides stay sober. That's the only thing I've done longer than live there,
Well, I know why that lady helped you that one day.
What do you mean?
I know why she helped you.
Okay.
And why she did it then and why she hadn't done it since. Because of the dude that's here right now.
Oh, well, thank you, brother.
Yeah, dude. Like I've listened to you talk you can tell that you're a well-respected dude in that room for sure.
Yeah.
Like you can feel it off of you. So
You're definitely the kind of person that, especially a newcomer, needs to hear from. Like, I love when I go to Westlake and you're there. I'm like, fuck yeah, Steven's here. Because
Gonna bring the fire.
yeah, dude. Oh, you certainly do.
because I know that
Yeah.
I normally have pretty good shares, but your shares are always fire.
Yeah.
And they're always, and it's such, like, you know when some people speak, not only do they get everybody's attention, but when you speak, you know that, man, this motherfucker knows his book too. He knows that book inside out. And that's what a new person needs. A new person needs to see people like you. That's why I think it's so important for people that have long sobriety not to go to meetings where it's just other motherfuckers that have 20 and 30 years sobriety. They need to go to newcomers meetings for the newcomer to see that this is possible.
Right.
Like, I got 14 felonies and look at where I am right now.
Right.
Look at how far I've came. I used to live under that fucking bridge. I used to fly a kite. I used to fucking stink like shit.
Yeah.
I didn't shower for 10 days. Yeah. But look at who I am now.
But you kept it real. Like in the couple shares
Always
that I heard
real.
you,
Real
it was
as
like
fuck.
it wasn't sugar coated.
Right.
It wasn't it was real power. I mean, it stood out to me.
Right,
Like
right.
when you were speaking.
Yeah.
I could just instantly tell that about you right away.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
the fact that she had to see that in you, even then, smelling like a herd of
Yeah.
wet goats. Say, fucking, she saw it. She saw it, man.
Yeah.
She just did. She was
Yeah.
like, this guy can fucking really impact this community, and you do.
And here's the thing is that she's not like a Christian believer. Like, she does Middle Eastern, whatever.
Sure.
She teaches yoga and whatnot. And she's a great person.
Yeah.
Great as all can be. I don't, most all religions believe in the God.
Yeah.
Whatever they called their God is
Sure.
the God.
Is
The
their-
Great Spirit, the Indians called.
Right.
And, you know what I'm saying? How does that work? I have no clue. I had a wise man once tell me, he said that a man trying to understand God is the equivalent to a worm trying to understand man.
Yeah.
Just not going to happen.
Right.
And so the thing is one of the things that I've learned in my life, because I do read the Bible. I am a born again, tongue talking, Bible thumping, Jesus freak, you know what I'm saying? Full baptized immersion, holy roller when it comes to, do I talk that way? No. But the thing is I get my message across, and my God's big enough to know, you know what I'm saying, that I can get my message across if I can speak to people in the terms that they believe. Jesus was speaking to those people in the days, and he was speaking to them in terms that they knew, parables and stuff. He didn't say fuck, shit, and damn, but hey, who am I? I'm not Jesus, but you know what? I'm trying to get there, but you know what? But yeah, but I really don't want to get there because you see what happened to him.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
that
saying?
was a rough, ending, dude.
I don't want none of that. I got that ass whooping when I was 6.
Yeah.
Dude. I didn't get that ass whooping, but I got one good.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that I've learned that God doesn't yell. He doesn't even raise his voice. When God speaks to someone, he whispers or he gently nudges, And who's to say he didn't nudge her that day? Get with that dude, Or maybe it was the day before. Maybe she was talking to the other lady because they were best friends, And she had said something to me about sleeping there or whatever, and I told her that I did what she told me to do or whatever, and then the other one probably said, you know what, let me get that dude some clothes. If he's trying to do what he's supposed to do. And that's what I've always bought into. When people would come to the creek, if I saw that they were doing what they were doing, the reason I live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment is because I have one room that's called my God room. I told God years ago, I said, look, you pay your rent, you know what I'm saying? I'll leave that room open for the one that's struggling or the one that gets kicked out because they took a little puff off of weed. You know what I'm saying? They need to get back on their feet for a week or whatever. I'll leave the God room open. Plus, I have a brother. He comes to town. He can stay, whatever. I have the God room, and that's why I live alone, because I have God as my roommate, and that room is his, and however he seems to want to use it, and that, when people are actually trying to do it, get behind it. You know,
Yeah.
I can't name the number of times that somebody could, I'm never at a lack of what I call prayer ammunition if I go to a meeting, because I'll hear somebody talk about some shit that they're going through or whatever. So the next morning I say, hey, God, you remember that chick? I don't remember her name, but she was sitting in the corner and she was praying about her mama, da-da-da-da-da. Lord, be in that situation. Be with her, Or sometimes I'm driving around town and I'll see somebody or something or whatever. And I call it drive-by prayer. Lord bless them.
Yeah,
Lord bless them.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Bless that one. Man.
Yeah.
And that one too, And the thing is that what I call sobriety paychecks is, I quit paying tithes to the church per se. And I had this thing with God and that when you go to a meeting, sometimes you'll hear people like, man, I just got a new job, man. My starter went out on my car and it's $242. I don't know how, I don't know nobody fixing it, And just walk up to them after the meeting. Fucking give them a handshake and fucking hand them $300, dude. And just walk away. Don't say nothing, And I can't name the number of times that I've done shit like that and just forgot about it. Like I didn't, and then a couple, 3 years, 5 years later, somebody's like, dude, you saved my life, bro. You saved my life. Like, you came to the rehab, man, and played kickball with us, dude. You gave me $10 and 2 packs of cigarettes and told me to keep my chin up, dude. He's like, man, I've been sober ever since. I got a year and a half now. But, or the lady, I went to Westlake meeting one night thinking it was a regular meeting, and it turned out to be a birthday meeting. And this lady picked up her 1 year chip after the meeting. She goes, hey, I need to thank you. I said, thank me? Thank me for what? She goes, I used to go to Cherry Creek. She goes, you ruined my drinking. She goes, every time you say, if I just don't put that shit in my body, then I can't let it fucking work on me, She goes, every time I took a drink, I hear your voice going, just don't put that shit in your body.
Yeah.
I said, I'm glad I could ruin your drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad I could do that for you, And that's what I call sobriety paychecks, man.
Yeah.
My sponsor taught me that we do service work, we just do it. If I have if I feel any kind of way about the service work I did, then I had the wrong intentions when I did it.
Beautifully said.
If I yeah. So and I had to work on that, The two hardest things that I've learned to do in sobriety, number one is to mind my own fucking business, and number two is to let other people have their journey. I can't always be Captain Save a Ho, Save a Bro.
Yeah.
And I love to put my cape on, boy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's one of my problems. It's my homegirl, Miss Karen. She always says you can't rob somebody of their rock bottom. You got to let them fucking go.
The funny you say Rob. The thing that reminded me when you said Rob, my sponsor told me early on. he said, when somebody, hey man, you want to go eat with us? Like, I don't have any money. He's like, oh, I got you. Don't worry about it. He says, take your pride and put it in your back pocket. He says, stop stealing other people's blessings. If somebody wants to help you or give you something, allow them to do it and say thank you. Otherwise, you're robbing them of the opportunity because you're too fucking prideful to accept what they got.
Yeah.
And he said, you got to get rid of that.
Yeah, and a lot of times, and I can feel that in that room. A lot of times, there are no strings attached in there, even with a kind word or anything like that. So unlike most other places that you go, in a work environment, in any other place. But I said it last week, but that room to me was like a very odd combination of church and therapy.
Right.
It's like it kind of coexists in that room.
Exactly.
For the box of broken crayons to come together and fucking make a whole crayon.
I heard somebody call it the Island of Misfit Toys.
Yeah, I mean,
you remember that movie when you were a kid?
Dude,
Christmas time, the Island of Misfit Toys. Yeah, that's us.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody that I've seen in those rooms are the furthest thing from a misfit toy. I think that they're seriously a tool that is used by something greater, God, whatever God you're praying to give back and to help. And they do it because they know where they were, and they know that there's another one of you or you hiding behind that struggle, right? And it's hard. You know, coming from nothing, the background that you have, if you were given anything, there was a string attached to it probably a lot of the times, right? And to be in a place now where there is no string attached, there's just a lady that wants to wash your clothes, give you a shower, and fucking prop you up. I mean,
you know what I love to do though? I love making people cry, dog. Yeah. I'll tell that story. I'll tell that story in the meeting. She's sitting there, and now I look over and she's bawling. I like to make people cry for the good reason.
Yeah.
Here's another thing I like to do to make people cry. Homeless people. I've got a soft spot in my heart for homeless people. Of course, right?
Dude. I can only imagine.
Most of the time I have $1 or $2 in my pocket, which is no problem. You know, hustler knows that 2 Marlboro Red 100s in a box, you know what I'm saying, out of the box. That's $2.
Yeah.
That's $2 if you got to hustle. It's $1 on the street.
Right.
You know? If you can't hustle that cigarette for $2, something wrong. You know? But they come to the truck, right? And when I hand it to them, I look them in the eye and I say, if nobody's told you they love you today, I love you, brother. Or I love you, sister. You know what I'm saying? And I hand it to them and I look them in the eye. And about 8 out of 10 times, they immediately well up. You know what I'm saying? Because ain't nobody talk to them real like that.
Yeah.
You know? And the thing is that's a way that, and then I tell them, I say, if nobody's told you they love you today, I love you and God loves you. And it's a way for me to also spread God's message of love. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, in 100 years, nobody's going to remember me or my name, right? But the thing is they will remember God, right? And it doesn't, my deal is I want to emulate God. I want to try to be the goodness of him shining through me in whatever way that is, right? And the thing is that person may have an experience from that one small experience that may change or alter the course of their life. It's kind of like that movie Moving Doors or whatever, you know. We don't know what that small little action is. A smile at the grocery store, you know what I'm saying? Helping the old lady at Lowe's throw her bags in the fucking back of her car.
A lady bringing you home to fucking shower.
Yes, we don't never know
those
what
little
those
acts of kindness.
Yes,
that can change some's life.
Yeah,
well, and it's
something that we've heard so many times.
So many times, man. Like I mean, it seems that it always comes down to a moment.
Yeah,
something small, something real tiny. Like to a guy like me, never struggled with addiction.
Right.
Not in recovery.
Right.
I don't get it. Right. I can drink a beer and put it away for a week.
Right.
But
God bless you.
now
you're just showing up.
No, that was probably the most honest God bless you I've ever gotten. Like you're like, God bless you. But it always comes down to this moment, right? For so many of them, and it's small, and you're no different. It's a 2 moving blankets and a pillow.
Yeah.
And that lit you up. That really did. And that pillow and those moving blankets, I mean, who knows where the fuck they were but it meant the world to you.
Yes.
Like it was small. And then it was the next day, you got another one. Yeah, come over to my house and shower.
Yeah.
Cut your hair. Yeah. These are all fucking little, small, tiny things, man, that you don't know how many moments we let pass by every day that can alter somebody's state of being or state of mind or where they're at, what they've been through, and how it could they're heading down a dark path. And then, hey man, here's a cigarette. I love you.
So here's one of the things that got impressed upon me a while back was, I never know when I might be the answer to somebody else's prayer.
Right.
Because I don't know what they're going through in their life because everybody's got their own stuff. Mm-hmm. And they may have in the car before they walked into the grocery store, say, God, if you're really real, just, just give me something. Just show me, give me a sign, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And Lord, I want to be the deliverer. I want to be the delivery boy of whatever it is, and I don't ever know when he's going to use me. So the best way that I can put an analogy on it, right, is that my life, okay, is like a guitar, okay? And good musicians, right, they keep their guitars in tune. So when they're going to go out on stage and perform, that instrument has been tuned by a professional, either by themselves or by a professional.
Right.
Usually a professional if they're any good, So my job as in my life is I'm a guitar. And my only job is to keep myself in tune, because I don't never know when God's going to reach down and pick it up and start to play a tune for somebody.
Right.
And guess what? If he does that, and they got, instead of, I have to be in tune. And that's what I have to be ready for. And it starts with my mind and the way that I think and what I allow to go there. Because you hear in the time they talk about the fourth dimension of existence, Well, the fourth dimension of existence is that I can speak, I can see, and I can hear without speaking, hearing, or looking at something. I can close my eyes and I can speak and I can hear and I can see things that aren't there.
Right.
Behind my eyelids. And that's the fourth dimension of existence. And that's what I call my inner sanctum,
right?
With God. And that's where I reside with God. And it's just he and I walking hand in hand daily, and I can invite him in, or if I invite somebody in that he don't like, guess what? He moving. He gonna move around. So I got to watch what I think,
Well, it sounds to me like you're trying to be that guy who whispered in your ear to be this, to have the sword.
I'd try to.
I mean,
really,
that's at the end of the day, that's kind of what we're all trying to pass forward, right? And,
yes, sir.
And But it sounds to me, man, what you've overcome and being able to sit here and speak on it. And I say this all the time doing this, man. This podcast has really humbled me in this way. I know that sitting there and talking about these stories is, you guys make it look so easy, but it's not. It's not easy to sit there and talk about all of this stuff that's happened. You might have gotten used to it because you have shared it and now you're posting it on the outside of yourself.
Right.
But it's very difficult to come sit there and
the thing that this is what I do know is that my story is what God has given me in order to give to others. So that's what I have, that's of supreme value of what I've had. The big book and the Bible both are what we call the living word, divinely inspired literature. I can read the same sentence 6 months from now and it'll mean something different based upon the experiences I have. Same thing with the Bible. The words haven't changed. You know what I'm saying? My life experiences have. So my story and my life is what it is. And that's my supreme gift from him, right? To use it to help other people. The other thing is that, yes, I do. It's a gift that God gave me to be able to speak in a room full of people and keep it real and keep it light.
Yeah.
Even though it is traumatic and it is hurt. Nobody wants to talk about clawing the sheets at 3 a.m. or doing, doing the stupid bobo shit and all that, all those things. But if I don't make it somewhat humorous, somebody's going to come in they're beat down.
Right.
They're beat down already, and they don't want to hear. Yes, it's a very serious thing, to try to sober up and get sober. It's a very serious thing that we're talking about. But if I can't lighten it up and I ain't laughing and I ain't having no fun with it, guess what? I'm not doing it right. And all the answers that I need to life are in the book. It may not be specifically spelled out, but I haven't found one. And that's what my sponsor taught me. He says, if I have a problem, the answer's in that book. I just got to go find it. you know, and that's why I know the book, like you said, you know, and I don't speak out of the side of my neck at a meeting about some shit that I heard because it sounded good. Somebody said it at the meeting, so I want to requote it, you know what I mean? You know, so I feel like I got a fire share and people are, oh man, great share, you know? Yeah, that feels great when people come do that to you. But the thing is I just tell them, you know what? That's a gift that God gave me. And that's a way for me to be able to give him his due. You know what I'm saying? Why I still accept their compliment to not be a brush off. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
You know?
Well, that's what I always like whenever you speak, is you do make it humorous, even though it's serious shit. Yeah, I mean, because I feel like if we can't laugh about some of the shit that we've done, then why the fuck did we go through it? Like, some of the shit was terrible.
Yeah.
But if we can't sit back and laugh at some of the times that I've had, and also speak on them to where we know that other people in the rooms have been through those times too, and they can hear us speak on it and laugh about it and have fun about it. Oh, well, shit, maybe I'm not such a terrible person because they've done it too, right? And look where they are now. Look where Stephen is now, you know.
But it's also what it does is it chips away at that uniqueness block where people come in and I'm so special, I'm so
different,
unique, nobody's
so
ever
different.
done this,
Yep.
and then they hear somebody share about it and they're like, oh, maybe I'm not the island of misfit toys. I'm just a lost soul that's finally found the tribe that he belongs to.
Right.
Yep.
You know, or like another guy I heard share, he says it's like Cheers. Hey Norm,
Yeah.
you know, like hey Mike,
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
what up, Stu boy? How
Yeah.
you doing? You know,
Yeah.
kind of shit. You know, everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
And,
right. That's good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways,
Well,
but
look,
you know, sobriety's great, man. You know, I just keep doing what I was taught. I keep doing what I was told to do. Step 3 for me, I came in and I turned my will and my life over to the power. Wait, before I want to say this. So the second God experience I had, I didn't get to finish it. January 19th, I'm singing at church choir. I'm living at Willowwick, Oxford House. I got 6 months sober. It sucks. I hate it. My wife's divorcing me. She won't work it out with me. You know, I'm paying my tithes. I'm singing in church choir. I'm going to church. I'm going to work. I'm doing all the things that I think I'm supposed to do in order to get favor from God. You know, why are you doing this to me, God? So instead of going to church early on Sunday morning, I got dressed and I decided to go to a different church because I had a beef with God. So on the way to church, I'm screaming at God at the top of my lungs in my truck. I'm like, God, if you don't give me something today, I'm fucking done with you. Your promises are empty. This shit's bullshit. I'm losing my wife and my kids. What the fuck is the point of staying sober? And I'm so mad I'm actually punching the roof of my truck, you know? And so I'm here in Austin. I go to church. I don't know anybody. I go into early service over there off 51st at the Promised Land Church. I go in there and they're singing and clapping and whatnot, worship part of the service or whatever. You know, and the pastor said, hey, well, if you got something you need to pray about, come on down, you know. And I stepped out, walked down to the front, head bowed, eyes closed, arms crossed, and I'm silently petitioning God. My marriage is over. My wife's taking my kids. I'm sober. I fucking hate my life. What, you know, all these promises and all this stuff that you say that, you know, and I'm doing all the things I think I'm supposed to do. I'm singing in your church and I'm, you know, paying my tithes. I'm saying, so I'm going, you know, I'm president of the sober house, you know, and this guy walks up behind me and he says, I don't know who you are, but God told me to tell you that you still have the sword. So not once, but twice,
Wow.
this has happened to me. And the book talks about it. The book says that God disclosed himself to those who earnestly sought him. And the Bible says the same thing. Asking ye shall find, you know, asking ye shall receive, seeking ye shall find, knocking the door will be open. You know, when we earnestly seek God, whomever that is and whatever people choose to make that be, when I myself believe in God and Jesus and Yahweh and, you know, Jacob, Isaac, and Abraham and all, you know, that's my shit. But when a person seeks God with everything within their being, God reveals himself, you know, and that's that's a truth that I know and hold dear. And I walk with that. And the reason that I can walk with confidence today is because, you know, when you take a person, and we all come into this world butt naked. And butt naked, we're going. You know, somebody may throw some clothes on you if you got some peoples. You know what I'm saying? But otherwise, you ain't going to wind up worm dirt, bro. That's it. You know what I'm saying? You're worm food. Feed the fishes kind of shit, right? So, but even if I'm butt naked in this world and I don't have anything to my name, I have to, you know, when people are at church, you see them all the time, they're all raising their hand and they got both their hands raised up. What are you raising up? Raising up two empty hands? No, not me. You know, so it says when we're gonna emulate God, right? What is it? When God shows up, right? God's works are what? God's works are mighty, you know. They're always on time, you know, right when they need to be, right? And in this hand I have my word. God's word is always the same. It never changes. It's always good. You know what I'm saying? When it says it's going to be here at 7:00 p.m., you know what I'm saying? Even though you got traffic, I showed up at 6:57. You know what I'm saying? Because I prayed. I was like, God, let me be on time. I won't be on time.
Yeah.
You know? So even when I have nothing in this world, I still have two things of supreme value. I could come to you broke. I said, look, bro, I ain't got no money, man. Let me hold $100, dude, till next week. And if I can't pay you back next week, let me come wash your car and mow your yard and shit. Because my word's good and my word's good. You know what I'm saying? I'm never broken. I'm never homeless. I'm never hungry. As long as I make those two things good. And that's how I can emulate God. And as long as I'm doing that and I'm standing on God's word, right? I'm 10 foot tall and bulletproof, man. I walk with confidence because I know that the creator of the universe, who has shown himself to me twice, you know what I'm saying? It's as concrete as the floor that we're sitting on, you know, to me. I pray that other people get that kind of an experience that joust them, you know, just jolts them into, whoo, you know.
That new high.
It really is, man.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought that was so corny. I got high online. Climb an 8-foot ladder.
Yeah.
You know, I was in a meeting last week. And then we can probably end this. I was in a meeting last week, and there was a guy he was sharing, and I've only been in this meeting once. I didn't know the guy, and then he started talking about Jesus, and he said, you know, we're just like Jesus. And he said, I used to always yell at God for all my problems, like, why are you doing this and why are you doing this? And he said, and then someone in one of these meetings said, well, so did Jesus. Jesus asked him too, why have you forsaken me? Right? When he was dying on the cross. Mm-hmm. And he said, when I heard that, I was like, I'm just like Jesus. And he had questions too. So it's okay that I have questions. I don't have to have the answers to them, because 3 days later when Jesus rose up, he had the answers filled. He said, so I don't have to know why someone goes through this or why this little kid goes at a very young age. I just know that God has a reason for it, and he'll reveal that reason to them once they raise again.
Right.
So it's pretty good. Really, really good stuff.
Funny thing, and I'll shut up with this, dude, is that the moment of doubt, you know, it wasn't like pure doubt, but it says that when Jesus was in the garden, before he knew he was to be turned over and what he was going to do, it said that he was so full of so much anxiety that he was sweating blood. I ain't never heard nobody sweating no blood, bro. You got to be on some anxiety on a whole nother level to be sweating blood, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's when he asked God, he says, can you take this cup from me? You know what I'm saying? You know, like, I'm about to go get his ass whooping, man.
Yeah, for sure.
He knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You know, he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You know, but he did it anyway. So I can't make up for that, though. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I appreciate y'all having me,
Man, thank you so much
I know
for
I
coming.
talked too much.
no,
don't
no,
I?
you didn't at all, man. I'm telling you, this is going to be
I've
great.
been looking forward to this episode.
I've been looking forward to this for a while too,
Really
man. I'm we're thankful that you came on,
Yeah,
brother.
man. Yeah, I'm
Thank you
glad
so
y'all
much.
had me, dude.
And a couple things, I extend this to everybody, but look, you're on that wall now. You're part of our family, and if you ever need anything from us, we'll come running, and that door is always open to you, man. Anytime you want to come in here and rap,
So
nobody does it better than you.
Let me hold $20.
I got you. I got you. You need it. I got you. But
I don't need it. Shit, hell, I won $400 on scratch all a while ago.
hey, attaboy. Well, how do people find you?
How do you find me?
Yeah.
I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Steven Sheehan. And I mean, I'm a handyman. I got business cards. All of my work and my shit's on Facebook. I don't, 512-552-3190 is my phone number.
Cool.
Call me. You know what I'm saying? If you need help or whatever, I'm a handyman too. I do all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of references when it comes to work and whatnot. I'm out of the captain save a hoe, save a bro business, but I still kind of am a sucker to try to help people and shit.
Yeah.
They tell me I need to do that, and I still keep doing it. Because service work is kind of like time release medication.
For sure.
It hits me when I most need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah. But yeah.
Well, find this man. He'll hook you up with some work. He'll hook you up with some words. If he's doing work for you, you're probably going to want to talk to this dude for a little while.
For sure.
Yeah, so that'll probably be the most important thing.
Go crazy with that. I'll shut up, dude. I will shut up.
No, you're
but no, the other day I worked for this client. They need some appliances done or whatever. We had to call an electrician in to put another 220 plug in or whatever. I came back the next week and was doing their shit. And they're like, hey, can you come back tomorrow and do these fucking bulbs up here and this and that little shit? And I was like, yeah, sure. Come to find out, I'm working, that next morning. She goes to her and her husband are standing there and we're talking. Turns out she works for the Ken Paxton's office, Attorney General's office shit. You know what I'm saying? And she and I start chopping it up, man. And I start telling her about my past and all.
Yeah.
Dude, we became the fastest of friends, dog.
Yeah.
I got a friend, she work at the AG's office
Yeah.
now, boy. You better watch out, boy. I got that conversation for the nation, boy. Don't get it twisted up, boy. Yeah.
Well, Steven, man, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
No, thank you.
We're
y'all
going to
for
do this
having me.
again. We are going to do this again.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
But
Then next
man-
time we'll talk about the $1 million, man.
there you go. Let's go.
Yeah.
2 addicts and a moron. We're
All right,
out of here.
peace.